Hello friends, and welcome back to the Accent Designer. In today's video, I'm sharing with you some tips to help you prepare for the product design interviews and land the job that you've worked for so hard. So without any further ado, let's get into it. One of the most common mistakes that can be seen across new designers who are just trying to make their way into the industry is that they are not intentional enough about their portfolio. So you need to understand what you're applying for, what kind of job and what kind of specialty you're aiming for. So if you want to become a content designer and focusing more on the copywriting and the content of a specific page or a specific product, you have to build your portfolio in a way that accentuate this aspect of the product design process. If you're aiming for micro interactions or interaction design in general and visual design, you rather need to build your portfolio in a way that communicate that with the interviewer. Same thing if you want to become a UX researcher, for example. You need to focus on case studies, research case studies, target audience, synthesizing, data analysis, basically the things that have to do with research and framing a problem statement. Otherwise, the interviewer or the design manager looking into your portfolio will have really difficult time taking you seriously and understand why exactly you're applying for this job. Tip number 2, your resume. So the whole idea or the whole point of having a resume is to summarize your track record in a specific field, meaning that people look at it in order to build up a quick idea or understanding of what you've been doing for like a long period of time, and potentially what are the sequence of events that led you to applying to this job. Meaning that you have to focus on outcome. In order to draw attention, people need to see some sort of an outcome, whether it's number, conversion rate, revenue, profit, net income, you name it. Keep in mind that recruiters and design manager or interviewers or whoever looking through your resume probably looks through hundreds of other resumes on a daily basis. So in order for them to scan quickly through this resume and decide whether or not they want to get in touch with you, it's a matter of a few minutes, if not even seconds, for them to make that decision. So be very vigilant of how you frame your previous experience and try to make it outcome focused as much as possible. For example, in my case, previously I worked at a certain company and my design work along with the team contributed to roughly 5% of the total annual revenue of a new feature that we rolled. So it was very, very obvious that I'm using percentages and numbers in order to accentuate how my contribution brought something to the table. Tip number 3, and this one is a little bit technical because a lot of students, for example, the students that I work with on a weekly basis, when they land an interview, their biggest fear is either take-home assignments or whiteboard challenges. And I'm not talking about take-home assignments now, that will probably have its own video, but I want to focus today on the whiteboard challenges. Personally, it's one of my favorite things about interviewing, and if I have the luxury to choose between whiteboard challenges or take-home assignments, it's a no-brainer for me. It's quick, condensed, and digestible, and can really accentuate your skills as a product designer. So what happens usually is the interviewer gives you a prompt or a problem statement, and your job is to break down this problem statement, collect and synthesize data points, and 3, which is the most critical part of the process, sketch a solution. So a prompt can be something like, we want to improve how the ATM machines work at X bank in order to reduce the waiting lines. Stage number 1, once you receive the prompt, you ask them question, try to break down that prompt into smaller problem bits and pieces, and that will help you in constructing stage number 2, which is collecting data based on the responses they give you and synthesize these answers and data points into meaningful information, meaningful patterns and themes. And once you have those 2 stages covered, you will have an arsenal of insights and data to begin stage number 3, which is sketching. And a lot of people tend to, and specifically junior designers, tend to get lost a little bit in the first 2 stages, asking a lot of questions and trying to synthesize, and what happens is they end up going in circles. You need to practice time boxing each step before you begin this interview, and give enough room to sketch, come up with solutions, and discuss those solutions with the interviewer. One of the things that you absolutely need to practice is to take a step back, look at everything, and summarize what you did in a quick recap and say that, oh, I've done this, maybe this one actually works much better than I expected, but I also did that, and I believe now looking at it with fresh eyes, I think we need to tackle it from a different angle, or maybe wouldn't really work for that particular scenario. So you basically need to give yourself and the interviewer a chance to reflect and see how things can be improved. So in summary, you cannot do all this if you don't have a clear plan to tackling a whiteboard challenge. If you just attended the interview with the idea that you're good at synthesizing or asking questions, you probably have no time to sketch and come up with a solution, which is the main thing or the main reason you're having this interview to begin with. So you need to practice, time box, and have a very clear mindset to how any problem statement should be tackled. The following tip is really, really important. It's a very simple thing, but a lot of people do it, me included. I used to do that a lot in the beginning and learned the hard way that it's very unpleasant for the interviewers to have somebody behaving like that. And that is fill in the blank for people. So sometimes when you explain something, let's say that you're walking through one of your case studies or even a whiteboard challenge and you're trying to articulate your solution, the interviewer pause for a second and start paraphrasing your answer or your explanation in different words and just like a different way to help follow along with you and make sure they're on the same page. And when that happens, they tend to pause frequently just to collect their thoughts and find the right words to describe their thought process. And what we do in this interview is we volunteer and fill in the blanks for them, as if our words or our way of describing a solution is the only and ultimate correct way to describe it. So please avoid doing that at any cost. It's very annoying. And now being on the other end of it, because in my current job, I started interviewing junior designers. When it happens, I really have the utmost empathy and compassion towards junior designers and how excited and how eager they are to learn and prove themselves. But when a very simple little tiny mistake like this happen, I wouldn't even call it a mistake, it's like spontaneous behavior. But when it does happen, it's very annoying and kind of break the fluidity of the interview and the overall dynamics of this communication process. And now the final tip that I would like to share with you is personality. Interviews is not just about work. It's definitely the main reason you're having interviews is to showcase your work, but you're also showcasing your personality. So I'm not asking you to be extremely quirky or gimmicky, but when you get the opportunity to show your personality and background, take advantage and try to show the human part of you, not just the product design and technical part. So for example, when the interviewer asks you, tell me a little bit about yourself and what made you apply for a job like this, you need to prepare an answer and just like know what points you exactly want to touch base on, but also give just a little bit of room to explain or share a little bit of information about your hobbies, things you enjoy doing outside of work, maybe your background. If you're an immigrant like myself, share a quick in 1 or 2 sentences how this experience built your character. So things like that really resonate with the interviewer and just like kind of build up some sort of a rapport with the other person. One more thing I would like to mention before ending this video, and instead of practicing, in the mirror and ask yourself questions, because that doesn't necessarily prove itself worthy when it comes to actual interview settings and environments. One of the tools that you can practice with is Google Warm-Up. It's a great tool. I tried it before and I made a video about it before. I'll leave it down in the description. So make sure to check it out. It's a great tool for practicing. That was pretty much everything I wanted to share with you guys today. So I really hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, thank you very much for tuning in and see you next time.